my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Oh, well, they gave me bars, but I can see between to a dusty yard and long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I dry my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone.
Hello everybody, welcome to Heidbangers. I'm Matty and joined tonight by John, Gordon and Alex. How's it, guys? All right?
Very well.
Not too bad. Good, thanks.
This is episode 3 of our mental health conversations. As we said at the start of the last one, we should make it kind of clear that we're not mental health experts. You shouldn't consider anything that we do or say in this podcast as advice. And if you're struggling, go to seek professional help. And we might talk about things that may be a trigger for some people. So keep that in mind as well before you carry on listening. Formalities and housekeeping out of the way. Theme for tonight is talking about sort of external pressures. There's been quite a bit of stuff in the news, particularly today, about the Omicron variant of coronavirus. And if I get that name right, it's Omicron. Every time I say it, I think I'm talking about Transformer here. Omicron.
I think so.
Omicron.
Aye.
Anyway, COVID. That looks like it's about to cause some havoc. And also there's been quite a bit of the news about folk having Christmas parties, or particularly politicians having Christmas parties when the rest of us were in lockdown, and the impact that things like that, external kind of events, news events can have on your mental health. So, Alex, coming to you first. How do you feel about the coronavirus thing that's kind of kicking off again?
It's tricky for me. I'm in and out of people's houses all the time. I work as a joiner and a burglar. So you kind of just have to treat it the same as we've been treating it since we were allowed back out. Ask everybody at the door, are you all right with us coming in? Any cases, blah, 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 you want us to mask up? I'll be treating it the exact same as that, to be honest. And then watch what happens. And that'll pretty much be it. If somebody's going to pay my wages or my mortgage, I'll happily sit in the house forever. That's the sort of bottom line for me. But it doesn't work like that, being self-employed.
When we went to lockdown first time round, what was the sort of impact on you then?
From a work point of view, literally nothing we could do. Found out we were going to get some grants, and that was pretty much it. It was all right. We were able to keep the mortgage payments going, which was great. Work-wise, just missed it, but got to spend a lot of time with the kids. So kind of all right at the beginning. And I've said before, I live right next door to my dad, close to my sister. That's everybody that would be seeing all the time anyway, and quite lucky just to be nearby everybody. So it worked all right for me. So nice struggles as such, which was good.
How about you, John? How are you feeling about it all?
Mental. Like the first lockdown, obviously wasn't allowed to go and see anyone. My mum and dad stay like 15-minute walk from me, and I wasn't allowed to go and see them. So I'm going to my work, coming home, then you're in the house yourself. No time I'll go out. This is my work or a shop. I'll go and do my shopping on the Friday, and that was me. Again, I ended up drinking a lot then as well, and it's just your mental health takes a serious hit. I don't mind being alone. I can sit in my house, no problem. But when you're told you can't go out, it kind of changes the stories. Where I can just go, I went to football yesterday. You can do stuff, but when you're told you can't go and see your own family, you say to yourself, I had to speak to my mum and dad twice just because my mental health was building up. If it happens again, it's like, what can you do? It's just crazy, this stuff. I mean, then you've got the house parties. We get told to do stuff, you get fined and all this. Then you've got that numbnut at fucking number 10 throwing parties and everything for his staff and everything, and it's like they're basically just pissing on you. And I just think it's just kind of wonder when this is all just going to come to an end and get back to some normality. But every time you seem to get down that road, another variant pops up and you're like, what do you do?
And how do you deal with it when these things come up? Because it's quite a difficult thing to deal with, isn't it?
It is, because you start panicking and worrying, and it's like, right, when I was at the golf club all weekend, there was a function on the Friday night in another room. There was a function on last night, so I'm sitting at a golf club with what I think there was up to 100 people like in Hibs for the event and that. So you're sitting there going, well, I've got a bit of a cold. Now every time I'm coughing, people can look at me. I'm like, nah, it's just a cold. You know what I mean? People, I was at the football yesterday. I was coughing because I was so cold, and everybody's looking at me. I went, nah, it's just a cold. It's just a cold. And like, are you sure? I was like, oh, trust me. I think if I know if it was the virus, I think I wouldn't be sitting here but it's just you try to stick to the rules and do what you can, but then I'm getting to the stages like, aye, fuck this. What if the government aren't sticking to the guidelines, why should I do it? But I try to protect myself and my family, but it gets to a point in mental health like I can't do this anymore. I need to just get back to some kind of routine and normality for myself.
How about you, Gordon?
Struggling a wee bit, to be honest. Like, it's I suppose that everybody's been affected by this at some point. But you know, last year I lost my uncle, who I looked up to a lot, and due to COVID, he had dementia, but physically he was fine. But and COVID just completely destroyed him. I know quite a few people that have lost loved ones, even just recently as well, still to it. And like so I've always tried to stick to the rules. Me and my wife have been quite strict with it, just to obviously, like, you've got kids and stuff, you don't want to bring it into the house. We've got my wife's got an elderly over 80s grandmother, and you didn't want to give it to her. My dad had cancer and a couple of years ago, and he's like, his immune system isn't great, and it's like all the considerations, you're trying to do the right thing. And I think, like what John said there about you try to stick to the rules, but it's difficult when you just want to get some sort of normality in your life. And it just seems to go every time we're getting a wee bit of leeway and everyone seems to getting back to normal, we end up just almost back to square one. And you're just like, for fuck's sake, I can't be doing with this. Like, I've been struggling. The thing I've been struggling with the most is trying not to argue with my wife about it, because she loves looking at Sky News and looking at all the numbers, who's dying when and all the rest of it. And she's constantly saying, have you seen this latest restriction? You've seen how many people have died a day and everything? I'm like, I agree with you. I'm singing for the same hymn sheet as you, but I could just do without fucking hearing it today, because it is just grinding me down constantly. I can't I'm always like want to go do something. Like if I go to the football or if I go to a concert or anything like that, I'm kind of like in the back of my head, I'm like, I didn't like, should I be doing this? Should I be going here? Is this got to be safe? Am I got to catch something and bring it back? And then the whole thing becomes a stress rather than enjoyable. Like I went to the Scotland Denmark game, and I think I was the only person wearing a mask as far as I could see. Like, and I didn't actually ken if the rules are that everybody had to wear a mask inside the place because it's an open air thing. But you kind of look around, you're like, am I the only fucker that's fallen, like, that's trying to no catch this? And if I'm, what is the point?
Aye.
So that's kind of where I've been struggling quite a lot with it, to be honest.
How do you like reconcile that and kind of keep yourself in a healthy place?
Try and focus on other stuff, to be honest. Like I say, just trying to like explain to my wife and that, just like, because when this first started, I was like following all the stuff on social media and everything that would talk about it, like news outlets or even just like a page that would be posting stats or anything like that, all unfollowed now. Like I try to just completely distance myself. I'll look every now and again. Obviously, if there's announcements, there's a big announcement about what's restrictions are going to change or anything like that, I try and keep abreast of it so that I can keep within the rules. But I just try and no pretend like it's not there, because that isn't the right thing to do. Obviously, you've got to be vigilant, but to a certain extent, just change my focus to other stuff so that I can just focus on that and go, right, I can only do what I can do just now. I can, if I'm following the rules, that's fine. Who am I to argue with the experts? Let's just do that, and then hopefully we'll all be safe and healthy. And I think that's all you can do really in a situation.
It goes back to what you were talking about last week about the being present in the moment and thinking about the things you can control.
Exactly.
That's that makes sense. Alex, do you have concerns about how it'll impact your business? over the next period?
Aye, I kind of got to take it as it comes. That's the way I'm looking at it. I can't, absolutely nothing I could do with the first lockdown. Had loads and loads of work lined up, and just everybody that was phoning said, "Oh well, we understand, so just rearrange." So, and then you didn't ken when you're going to be doing the job for them. So it's I don't know. I'm no worried about it as such. I'm just going to take it, see what happens. I think we've got to try and stay positive about it rather than, oh shit, it might go tits up, and if it does, then I've just got I'm totally helpless either way. So that's pretty much it. I'm probably not going to lose sleep over it at the moment. That's the way I'll think about it.
I do it, like but it's like they started talk about the new variant, and then you can tell the tone of the messaging changes for the government and all the rest of it, and you start to kind of, I always think it seems more serious, and that's the bit that starts to get to me. So I'm like, it feels like it's right on top of us now, and then you start thinking, that's the thing about kind of things that will impact me. So we've already been told, like at work, because we'd started going back in the office. I was like a day a week back in the office. They said just work from home again. Can come in if you can't work from home, or if it is really bad for you to do it. But otherwise, work from home. Our Christmas night we got cancelled, and then we've got obviously the cup final on Sunday. And I'm thinking, fuck, what if they pull that? Because I kind of things are shite being a Hibs fan now, but who doesn't look forward to a cup final? Do you didn't care what will happen on that day. It's like a day out with a family, but I'm thinking, well, we've got a supporters bus. Is that going to get pulled? And then we're booked into a pub. What if we're not in the pub, and then we're through Glasgow for fucking hours before the game, but not able to go in anywhere to get a drink or something to eat, and then Ken's just ruin your whole day, and then you better just staying in anyway. And I just get frustrated with it. Aye, and I think the thing that frustrates me as well is, like, I spend a lot of time on Twitter, and I think we've spoke about the impact of social media before, but the amount of misinformation that's out there, or especially with COVID's got a divisive subject. You've got some folk who are kind of adamant that to varying degrees that it's a hoax, or that it's all about control. The government's trying to control you and all this kind of stuff. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't really believe any of that. It's like, why the fuck why would the government want me to not go to the football? Like, why would they give a fuck if I give my mum a hug or can wear a mask in the shops? What are they getting from me wearing a mask on in fucking Tesco? Like, nothing, kind of like. But then you see it, and you've got like quoted experts and that are giving conflicting information. You think I struggle with that. It's like, where do you find the information that you can rely on to kind of make your own decisions on it? Gordon, you mentioned about kind of who are we to argue with the experts. And I pretty much agree with that. There's folk who care what they're talking about. I'm no one of them, so I tend to trust the folk who do. But I find it difficult to kind of pin down who's reliable on Twitter and Facebook. I wouldn't even try to read anything on Facebook. I think that's just kind of almost 100% shite that's on there. On Twitter, I think it's maybe 99%, but it's just hard to tell. How do you cope with that kind of thing, with figuring out where?
Sorry, John, and you go.
Oh, you go.
Sure. Sorry, I do a game of percentages almost to a certain extent, and just try and find the most. Well, I'm saying that it could be construed in two different ways, because if you find the most common denominator, like the thing that's been said the most by experts, doesn't always mean it's right. But you're right; it's hard to identify what is the right thing, especially when things are moving so quickly. Like at the end of the day, I trust these people that have been to medical school for half their lives, and like that they've dedicated their lives to helping other people. But this came about so quickly, and normally these vaccines and stuff take years to perfect, and we have done it in like a ridiculous amount of time. And I know that there's been many more resources thrown at it, so obviously the timescales are going to get reduced. But yeah, I can see to a certain extent why there would be conflicting information and why some people would doubt like certain things about it. But I think just again, a game of percentages, you're just kind of saying, right, there's this many people that I can see are saying this kind of thing, and this is a general consensus. It's no surefire way of telling, and I think that's just probably backing up your point of who the hell do you listen to? Because I don't think there is a surefire way of knowing. I think you just have to go with the flow to a certain extent.
What you, John? What's your tactic for it?
I was going to say it's like come up like I get my booster the day before the cup final. It's probably not a good idea if I take a reaction, but it's like you get 2 Jags and then it's like, well, you now need a booster. Now I'm hearing it could be every 6 months to get a booster. So they're saying like, oh, well, the vaccine doesn't work for this virus. It's like, well, what's the point in getting it? It's kind of mental. It's just like I'm trying to find the words to say it. It's like if you all need to get vaccinated, I mean, I'm saying that that's fine. But you now going to have to get if it goes to every 6 months, you say to yourself, and again, trying to thinking about what to say. I'm actually struggling what to say. I just think it's all fucked up. I mean, people telling you one thing, then you get people jumping on the bandwagon, saying this and that, and the next thing. And, I mean, oh my God, and when it first happened, I was listening to everything and keeping up to date. Now, I don't really pay much attention. If I'm at my dad's, he'll say something, or I might see something on Twitter. Again, with any updates, I'll go and have a look, but I try not to pay much attention to it now because it seems to be everything that comes out of their mouths just shite, especially the vaccines and that. I've got my vaccine up there. It kind of feels like they're trying to control you a wee bit, but
I think we got to a stage during the pandemic where folk were all right wearing masks inside. Shops and that, it's still widely considered that's just what you do. Stay away from folk as much as you can, and sort of air circulation at all made. Like that's the only time I remember it sort of making any kind of sense, which is like, right, this is how it stops. You stop it spreading, and it became widely regarded that's just what you do. I'm kind of still in that zone with it. I really like being back at the football and all the events. I was at the Barrowlands on Thursday night, seeing the darkness, and that was the weirdest one. A lot of people were wearing masks on the dance floor, and a lot of people were just sort of spread out, and it worked. It worked fine. It was like, wear a mask if you want. The only thing getting in was like you had to show your vaccine passport. So everybody that was in there was vaccinated anyway. So it's like that's the first time I've noticed it being a different experience. Like folk are still cautious about it, but everybody would have been double jabbed anyway. So that was the sort of approach.
I think it was let fewer folk in for the gig, so there's like room to kind of space yourself out for others.
Aye, they had 2 doors open and they were letting everybody in. They were just making sure the queue was all like, you can what queues are like now. They're a lot longer, but that's just because of the spaces between folk. So that's exactly all it was. And then standing at the bar, they were taking your time about it. As I say, jumping about, watching the act, and it was all good, but nice to be back, but just a strange experience. And I've done a test since I came back just in case, and it's negative, so all good.
That sounds ideal for me. I was never a fan of being all squashed up at gigs and that anyway. I get claustrophobic with it, so see the idea of going to see like a band that you really like and having a bit of space to fucking move about and not have folk barging into you, that sounds absolute bliss. Like,
that was a Thursday night, so it wasn't a sellout as well, and they're not exactly like I've got to sell out stadiums and that at the moment, so it was a nice wee gig. First gig I've been to since all the shit hit the fan as well. Really good.
So one of the things that kind of triggered why I wanted to talk about this tonight is in the car with the missus earlier. We were driving through Musselburgh. We started talking about these Christmas parties and the how would you put it? Basically, lying, like folk who should get better that are just lying and doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, no owning it when they get caught, and then just like, in my opinion, just taking the piss out of everybody. We're like, oh, fuck, it doesn't matter. We're just concentrating on what we're doing now. Kind of police are not looking at retrospective crimes and all the rest of it, which I thought was fucking mental. But I got angry about it. We're in the car, and you can feel truly like your blood pressure starts going up and everything. And my wife was the same. Like, she agrees with me. It's not like we were arguing, but you could see like the temperature in the car changes. We were kind of more and more heated as we were talking about it, and we see your language changes and everything, and fucking cunts and fucking bastards, and that's not normally the conversation I would have with the wife, in the car. Normally I'm a bit more kind of mindful of my P's and Q's, but that can't really be good for your mental health either, like these things. And then so I talked about it with her and said, Ken, we're angry about this, and then there was an argument to say, should you be angry about it, and is there a healthy way to be angry? And that was really like the kind of question I wanted to pose to use, like, to the group. What do you think about that? Like, is it right and okay sometimes to kind of feel annoyed about stuff that's going on, and how far should you let it kind of grip you?
I think so. I think, especially when you've got families and that. I'm on my own, but it's like you try and stick to rules. You try to do everything you can to protect your family, like my mum, dad, my brother-in-law, and sister, and that. People around me. So you're trying to look after yourself and them. Then you've got arseholes just doing what they want. It's like, you need to do this, but we're going to have a party, or we're going to do this. And it does. The government is trying to tell you what to do, and you're doing the exact opposite. And it does piss you off quite a lot. And I'm at my mum and dad sometimes. Mums give me a out because as soon as I see Boris Johnson, the word cunt comes out of my mouth a lot more. But it's just, it's annoying. I mean, like, especially there's a divide between the governments now. Like the Scottish government, I'm not getting into all the politics because there's too many haters and lovers out there. But when a Scottish person and minister or something does something wrong, they're all over it, and they're wanting her sacked or wanting him sacked. But Boris Johnson's for a party, so people breaking the law, breaking rules and everything. It just gets swept under the carpet. You say to yourself, well, it's one rule for you, it's one rule for this. And it's, oh man, and then it all spills onto social media. You're on Twitter, you see all the arguments and everything, and you're reading it and going, I didn't want us to come on Twitter to have a laugh at a bit of banter and that, maybe stir up some Rangers fans. But it's just like, when you see some of the hatred and everything, I'm like, that does have an impact on your mental health. When social media turns into basically a cesspit, it's horrible sometimes. You see stuff getting posted on there.
Your thumb's quite good on social media. You just do that and scroll past and find something else.
I had an interesting reaction to that whole situation about the parties and stuff, because I know we talked the last time about the issues I've had with anger and stuff like that, and even though I'm not like I used to be with it, and I'm usually like, fucking hate Tories. Like, I'm not going to get political, right? But like me personally, I hate everything that's been going on politically the last few years, and normally I get so fucking pissed off with it to the point where I'm just like, again, affect my family and everything. It's been getting better. But when that came out, I wasn't surprised, and I think that's maybe why I wasn't angry, right? Like, I expected it, and I was like, right, and so I didn't get angry. But what I found myself getting angry at was the outrage, which is right, around it. Because then I started thinking, and again, not trying to get too political, but I started thinking, why is everybody absolutely fuming now all of a sudden about this party, where they weren't fuming when we had the highest rated deaths in the world? The negligence that like the governments have, like, they facilitated hundreds of thousands of deaths, in my opinion, right? And I'm like, and hardly anybody, no, like nobody batted an eyelid, but not to the extent they did when they found it was a party. And that kind of got me thinking, it's like, well, it's probably because it's selfish reasons, right? Because they're like, well, I couldn't go to my Christmas party, and they went to their Christmas party. But it's, even though if someone they knew didn't die, and this is me generalising, and obviously I'm not saying about anybody specifically, but like, they didn't care as much, and that's what makes me angrier than these specific situations. So I had this kind of really interesting, that I thought, like, normally I'd be fuming at that, but one, I didn't expect it, and two, I kind of tried to rationalise in my head around the situation and kind of say, well, no, this is not what we should be angry about, which then made me angry about something else. But I think that's I think the way I'm dealing with all that stuff on the politics side of it and all the restrictions, I feel like I'm dealing with it better than I ever did because I'm thinking about it, even though I'm not as involved as I was, because like I say, I've tried to distance myself and focus on other stuff. When it does come up, I'm kind of thinking, well, it was worse then. We've got through that. I've got through that. My family's got through that. So we're all right just now. Let's just, again, deal with what we're dealing with just now. Try not to get too upset about it. It doesn't mean to say that we should just let these things go, and we shouldn't. And I think there should be more uproar and more protests and getting rid of these arseholes. But I think we need to do it in a constructive way rather than just getting fuming about it and then firing off on social media that they're not going to listen. They're not going to care about what's happening on social media. So getting angry in the right way, I think, is how I'm been trying to deal with it, like focusing it in the right avenue.
You're definitely not alone. What was it? You were asking, is there a good way to be angry? Is that what you were asking?
That's yeah. Is there a time when it's healthy and is there a good way to be?
But you're the spot on there, Gordon. You read into something and you're like, people haven't been seeing this. They've always been at it all the time. If you're getting angry at one thing, why were you not angry at the Tory sleaze the week before? Ken, it's like that's what gets to me as well. So you're definitely not alone. Almost went political there. Sorry.
That's all right. Try to say the right side. Obviously, like with it's not a political podcast, but I think it's all right to talk about these things because these are the things that will impact your mental health. Ultimately, that's the reason that it kind of came up. Alex, you were going to mention it as a conversation you'd had with your old man last week. Do you want to...
Aye, it was the way the podcast last week was going. I've almost stepped in to talk about but a conversation I've been having with my dad, and it wasn't anything in particular. It was just he's a retired fireman, and I work together with him, and like I didn't particularly struggle with mental health. I'm quite open with that. I have my moments, but I'm quite good at sort of getting through it. And but I'm very interested in it, particularly now. Like, I mean, this whole podcast is about mental health. I thought I'm very up for that. You might be able to help somebody. Why not? So, but then I started thinking about it. Like, mental health problems must have always been a thing. It's not just a new thing for like 2020 or like mid 20, anything like that. It's not a new thing, but it's more and more open now. As I say, my dad's a retired fireman, and some of the shit he's seen sort of made me ask him questions, and I sort of knew better than to ask him questions when he was working, because when he came back for a night shift and didn't say anything to you, you kent something he'd seen, like, well, I don't know what he had seen, but you knew some shit had went down. So it took him a while to sort of come to, and then eventually he'd speak to you. And thinking back on that now as an adult, like fucking hell, he must have been really struggling at times. And so I asked him, he's works away with me now, I can talk to him about anything. And I told him about the Heidbangers. He says, I went on a podcast talking about mental health just in case it helps somebody. He says, that's brilliant. He says, good on you. I was like, it wasn't me, it's Matty that's running it. I just went on. He says, I just keep it up. It's superb. So you keep asking, conversation goes on. I'm like, fuck it, I'll just ask him. Like, how the hell did you cope with some of the shit you've seen? And then he started telling me, we were driving to a job, and he went, seen somebody there, seen something there, seen this, that, and the next thing there. So every time we're driving about, everything triggers his memory. And the best thing for him is just to try and have a joke with me about know what he's seen, but just try and change the subject for him. And I'm noticing that more. So I say, like, how did you feel? And he goes, how the hell do you think you felt? if you're in that line of work. He says you get called out, you're having a nice meal, and then well, no, that's what they do, just they have their meal, and then they get called out at any moment. He says you don't know how your day's going to go. He says you're having your meal, and then you see somebody inside out on a railway line. You're like, he says, how do you think that impacts you? I'm like, well, I don't know, that's what I asked. So he says it impacted everybody differently. All the guys in the watch, he says, the first thing you were offered was help, and it was to go to I think he called it the Riverside Help Centre or something in Morningside. And he says that some of the guys took it up, other guys just didn't bother. They knew they were in that line of work. So that was what I was going to go doing. That wasn't a story as such, but like, fucking hell, mental health just doesn't impact just you. It's your mum and dad have struggled, your granddads must have struggled, everybody's struggled before you. So it's superb that it's such a big thing now that you're able to talk about it. And if like mum, dad and that recognise that it's superb to be able to talk about it, it must be. So it's just such a helpful thing. And I'd rather no ask him anymore, because some of the things he tells you, you're like, Jesus Christ, man. Like he says, in fact, I maybe no better answer some of this stuff he tells me, but like he points things out like fire and like it's not just adults, it's kids and animals. And he says, I was like seen it all, and he was 30 years in the fire brigade, and you can't when something impacted him. And I've said that to him, I'm like, I knew that if you came in and didn't say a word to us, it's like, I never noticed at the time when I was like 10-year-old, but I knew something was up. And he's like, well, aye, can you go away to bed and you try and sleep it off? Sometimes pictures didn't leave your mind for days and days, and like, fucking hell. And then they went on strike for more pay and didn't get it. I'm like, fucking hell, fuck these bastards in charge. So aye, it was kind of a wee rant, but that's where I was going to go last week on the podcast. So sorry if it's triggered anybody.
It's a really, really good point, though, because I always say that, kid, as a parent myself, you always try to be strong in front of your kids, and I can use the word strong, and it's not like mental health is a sign of weakness or anything. But I think
no.
When I looked at like my dad and my granddad, so I never knew my granddad on my mum's side. Like he was like long dead before I was born. But my dad's dad he worked in the mines, and he was in the war and everything again. And you just didn't think of it. You just see like a strong man. That's kind of how it was. And my mum was able to talk to us about anything like that. And you think, because it wasn't a family, they wouldn't have seen the things that your dad had seen, but they definitely have the struggles. And you think how much we probably shield our kids from, and the kids as much as we can. But I think nowadays folk are much more open to talking about it, and that's got to be a good thing.
Absolutely. But it's like, everybody says you're not alone, and like the other firemen, they definitely weren't alone. They all got through it together as a team or a watch. But the last impact it could have with folk, it's just unreal. So that's the way I was going to take the conversation last week.
I'm glad you covered it. And I think that message not being alone is something that we've probably kind of referred to a few times. The importance of speaking to folk and trusting your friends to be friends. That's
absolutely
another thing. Folk will help you out. We're kind of out of time. I think that's flown by again.
Sorry, I've took up most of that.
No, not at all. That's what the podcast is all about. It's shite if nobody talks. Hope you found it interesting. We'll be back with Longbangers tomorrow night, which is Monday. Obviously, it depends what day you listen to this. If you didn't listen to it on a Sunday, tomorrow will be a different day. So I'll fucking shut up about days, because what the fuck am I talking about? But we'll be back with Longbangers and Short Bangers, etc. next week. John, Gordon, Alex, thanks very much for your time tonight. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
County line, I pledged upon. Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee.